Hello, welcome to the second video on roof framing, which is going to try to explain how to calculate hips. Alright, so hips are, if you have this type of roof, which would be like a cottage style roof, where you have the main roof and then another part of the roof that comes off of that, probably at the same pitch as is going down this direction. You have one coming down this direction. So the main way that I like to think of hips is that it is just another way to understand the triangle, and you're just changing the bottom of your unit triangle to a 17 instead of a 12. So the easiest way to explain that for me is, imagine that there's this cube and the sides of the cube are all 12. Okay, so it's 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. And if we have a 612 roof, then you'd come halfway up that, and this would be a 6. And then across here, imagine there's a line that is cutting your roof line in half, so that you'd have your two roofs that are intersecting on this line. Okay, so this line, if you calculate the square root of 12 and 12, as in like Pythagoras theorem, like we have been talking about in the previous video, you get 16.97. So this number 16.97, for the sake of convenience, we just rounded up to 17. So our magic number there is going to be 17, and then this the hip is coming from the top of the unit triangle, which we talked about in the previous video. So this is 6 and this is 12, but instead of going down this way or down this way, which would be the other roof plane, you come down this way, and this forms a different unit triangle. So you have 6, you have 17, and then this one, which works out to be 18. So draw it out like this. It's going to be slightly longer than the other unit triangle because it has 17 as the bottom instead of 12. Okay, so this is going to be 18. I'll just show you that here. So here we put in 17, and here we put in 6. And we get 18.02. So I don't think that is even a 16th, so we'll just call it 18. Okay, so in order to calculate our hips, this is the unit we can use. So if we 18 divided by 17, like we did before, say divided by 17, it's going to be 1.06. So that means that for every inch you go this way, 1 inch, you're going to go up 1.06, so that's about a 16th. So you're going to go up 1/16 that way, and that's along your hip. Okay, so that's probably the most succinct way to understand your hip, is just that you're taking the previous value, 12, and you're stretching it out along the 45-degree angle that is splitting the 90-degree angle in half. Okay, so let's think about how we're going to work this out. Here's our cottage. We're going to have a line that comes down like this. We're going to have a line that is coming straight across. We're going to have a line that's going straight across this way. And then you have a line that is going to go across like this, and this becomes your hip. So it's this, and it's this that we're trying to calculate for the hip. So this is the same calculations as we had before. So if you're talking about the same dimensions of the house, this is still 48 inches high, and this distance is still 96. And this distance would also be 96 because it's going to be set back the same amount that is halfway the distance of the house. So the bottom of the hip here is going to be the hypotenuse of 96 and 96. Okay, so what we can figure that out. This isn't how you would normally do it, but you can figure that out. And the length of this dimension here would be 135 and 3/4 or so, 7/6. So we could figure out what that would be if that becomes the new bottom of our triangle, and put this up on the back side, 48 and 135.76, and so the length of this hip here is going to be 143 plus, well, it's going to be 144. Okay, but normally how you would do this is work out your unit triangle and then multiply by this value here. So if you do 18 divided by 17, well, this is one way to do it. This is one way to do it. 135.76, and that gives you almost the same answer. We're losing a little bit of precision somewhere, but this is another way to work it out, is that you could take the ratio that you're given with your unit triangle and then project it up the hip. But the easiest way is to just use the app that I built, which figures all this out for you. So what we're going to do is go into the app, and then we're going to set the pitch here to 17. Okay, and then the run is going to be 135 and 7. 135 3/4. And there you go. We have 143 and 15/16, which is going to round to 144. So that's how you would do it with the app. This is how you would do it with a block of wood or manually. Okay, so once you have the length of your hip figured out, which was from the top perspective, so we said that this is going to be 135 and 3/4, say 7/6. So this is looking like from the top down at your hip. And then these are 96, 96. We still need to talk about an overhang. So we said that we're going to do a 24-inch overhang, just like the last example. So another 24 inches out, and then 1.5 inches for fascia gives you 22.5 out here. So you're going to have these two lines meeting out here. And your hip needs to extend all the way out to here. So you're going to have 22.5 on top of this value here. So we have 96 plus 22.5. It's going to give us 108. Is that right? No, 121, 128.5. So we can put that value in here. We could even just plus 22.5 in here. Plus 22.5. So that means that this overall length from this point, which is the top of your hip, which, if you remember correctly from the other view, this is like half the house. This is the ridge, or this is the ridge line over here, and yeah. So this is going to be 176 all the way down to the inside of your fascia. So 176. This is on the hip. Like the ceiling plane. 76.58. So we're going to take this number and take it into the Square Triangle app. So copy it, copy. Okay, so that 167 and 9/16, and on the 617 pitch gives us an overall slope of 177 and 11/16. So if we draw this hip from the like a side profile, this is like the 617 slope. We still need to find a place for a bird's mouth, so this overall length is 177 and 11/16. We need to figure out what this distance is to come back up into here, so we need to figure out what the hypotenuse of 22.5 is. So we'll go back into the calculator app, the calculator plus, and let's take that part out. So then that gives us 31 and 7/8 or so. So that's this value here, which is like basically the horizontal. So 31.82. So that's this value here. And we can bring that value so that works out to about 31 13/16. And on the slope that's 33 3/4. So then we would need to 33 3/4 measure up from the tip of the bottom of the tail up 33 3/4 where you would cut your bird's mouth. So then this bird's mouth would be 4 inches on the diagonal. So we need to figure out what that is. Come back into here. 4. So if you have any questions about these measurements, refer to the last video where I covered the more basic scenario of this if it was basically just a gable or a common. So that's going to give us 5.65, which is probably about 9/16 or something. Okay, so yeah, the size of your bird's mouth is going to be 5 11/16, and 2 inches up because we're on the 612. And from before we calculated that it was going to be 2 inch up cut, and so then it'd be 5 11/16. So this is the size of your bird's mouth right here. 5 11/16 and 2 inches, which if we work out this ratio, it should work out to 617. So let's just say for completeness to see if we were correct. Divided by 2 gives us 2.82 and or 2.83. And if we do 17 divided by 6, 2.83. Yeah, so this is the size of your bird's mouth, which, yeah, you need to cut that size out to complete your hip. So that's how you would calculate a hip using Ruth Math and this handy dandy calculator that I built called Square Triangle, and this other calculator that I use off of Google Play called Calculator++. So, happy hip. installation, house building, etc.